COVID-19 is still around, but that doesn't mean the Army ROTC programs are not there for you. Earn scholarships for school and pursue the career you want. The Leadership Developing Army ROTC classes will give any full-time student the focus and resources that can open doors down the road. Start sharpening the skills that will carve out your future today. Learn how at goarmy.com/ROTC. Army ROTC, now accepting college scholarship applications. Visit goarmy.com/money for college.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear. Because for years, he's only said,
only you can prevent wildfires.
But there's a lot more to say. Like if you park your car on tall, dry grass, the hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Can't get enough football? Then look no further than the GMFB podcast. Join me, Kay Adams, alongside Nate Burleson, Peter Schrager, and Kyle Brandt for a daily breakdown of the league's biggest stories.
Between game plan breakdowns and fantasy tips, we've got you covered for all your football needs.
We got recaps, retweets, and reaction to all the wild moments you might have missed on and off the field.
Listen to the Good Morning Football podcast weekdays on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for listening to the Doug Gottlieb Show podcast. Be sure to catch us live every weekday, 3 to 6 Eastern, 12 to 3 Pacific on Fox Sports Radio. Find your local station for the Doug Gottlieb Show at foxsportsradio.com or stream us live every day on the iHeartRadio app by searching FSR.
Now let's get this party started.
You're listening to Fox Sports Radio.
What up with your Doug Gottlieb Show, Fox Sports Radio? Hope you're having a great day. Doug Gottlieb Show is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. You want to look like $1,000,000, but only spend a handful of bucks, right? Isn't that the beauty to it? Upgrade to Dollar Shave Club's 6-blade razor for a noticeably cool, smooth shave, thanks to their 6 precision-cut stainless steel blades. Find your perfect shave wherever you shop, in-store, online, Dollar Shave Club. That's dollarshaveclub.com. All right, so we all watched the game, right? I think all of us watched. And if you didn't watch the whole game, you watched the highlights of the game. And it's always interesting, you know, people are so overreactive to that's PI. That's PI. Obviously, the play in question was Godwin and a back shoulder throw. And a ball that was, ball that's thrown perfectly to his right shoulder. And what's missing is you can call that a push-off if you'd like. But the only reason he had to push off was he was being held, So where do we start reviewing the penalty? Where is it? If you want to go back and say, if there was review for it. Yeah, if there was review for it, they would have called holding first. They didn't. The PI is not called, and I think it became the right call. Byron, let me ask you: were you standing up screaming at the TV? That's off, and I do believe that the offenses at times get away with murder. Yeah. I watched that one, and I didn't think that because I thought he was being.
I wasn't screaming, but I to your point, I think that the offense gets a lot of breaks when it comes to situations like that, and that was a play that. It was very close to deciding the game. I did think it should have been offensive pass interference. I didn't jump off my couch.
Yeah.
But I was not on a level 10 of outrage, but I do think in that situation, yeah.
Okay, because I think my biggest issue is that, it's not like they were running alongside of each other and they both turn and the ball's in the air and he just shoves the other guy and catches the ball. It's that they're locked up in a hand fight and then there's obviously a push there to get open.
Well, don't push off, and then we'll see, as to your point of when does the grabbing start. If he doesn't push off, then is defensive pass interference called? To me, it was more jostling than anything, or the hand fighting that maybe you would get And I'm now watching, I do have the replay in front of me, so I still think it's a push-off. Back shoulder throw, which is what you want to do in that situation. Brady, I mean, talk about back shoulder. It hits the back shoulder, and, I think it was a push-off.
What about you there, Jay Stu? Did you think it was an offensive pass interference?
Well, I'm that guy that you made fun of earlier in the broadcast who doesn't think referees should decide the end of games and swallow their whistle in crunch time. So I was happy to see the no call. There was contact the entire way, and there was a push. But I love watching the referee make the no call there. Well,
so what he's saying, and Bayer, tell me if you think this makes sense, right? Is he's saying, like, look, I don't like referees to make a call, but referees aren't deciding a game if a guy, as you said, pushes off. Again, I agree that it was a no call. You disagree, but like this idea, if a guy commits an infraction, that's the referee's not deciding a game. The player is.
The argument of first 5 minutes or first 5 seconds are the same as the last 5 seconds. Not
exactly. Not exactly. Okay, like I don't think. I'm not a nickel and dime guy in calling everything. But, I mean, if a guy goes up for a shot and he's clearly fouled, it's a foul. If a guy goes to catch the football and he's interfered with, it's interference. If holding is pretty obvious, it's holding. Now, am I going to, like I said, am I going to nickel and dime you? No.
I even just looking back on the push-off and the defensive back who's is falling backwards. That is not acting. Like, there is momentum, and maybe because his momentum was going that way and Godwin gave him a push, but like there is no acting on that is all. And I would think that usually maybe a no call in those situations benefits the defensive, the defender. Usually they just let him play, but this time the no call ends up hurting them, because I did think it was. I mean, he extended the arm, and big play. Big
Ramos,
play for sure.
What do you think, Ramos?
I think plays like that go either way in games. So, yes, it could have been a push-off or it could have been no call. And so you're going to get 5 times. If that happens 5 times or 10 times, 5 of them are going to be called and 5 aren't. And that was the one that wasn't. That's all. That's how I look at it. Like that, I bet that'll happen in the game again this weekend, and it'll be called a offensive push-off. So. Yep, it's part of the game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm watching a replay of the play, by the way, and on that completion, Tom Brady shook his head and waved off the call from Byron Leftwich.
Hey, don't call that. I'm Tom Brady. Like, okay.
He just looks over and goes, nope, we're not doing that. Nope.
Tom Brady, no call.
Yeah, I've been doing this a while. This is what we're doing.
So good.
I've been doing this a while. And look, and Byron Leftwich didn't flinch, but he's sitting there going like, this better work. This better work. Better work. I love the video. Football is so well covered. Right? That's the other thing about it. It's just so well covered. By the way, Mike McCarthy agreed with the no call, or at least did when he was asked about it. Take a listen.
I think when it comes down to tight plays in a game, if it's ticky-tack, I think you're better, I would have taken the call. I wouldn't have asked them to pick the flag up. But I think, holding penalties and things in clutch time. I think it's. I think it has to be a real foul there. So I didn't see it.
I mean, that's the coach of the team whose guy was pushed off, and he said he didn't see it. Look, that's part of that, and this is a little bit like the Jordan push. And I'm not trying to say Chris Godwin is Michael Jordan, but we have gotten to a place where that if it's 50-50 or even 40-60, offense still ends up getting the benefit of the doubt. Yes, John Ramos.
If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, are you happy with that from your coach? Or do you want him to stick up for the team and be like, you know what, damn right, that was offensive? I mean, I guess you can't say that because maybe there's rules against the official. Oh, I don't know. I know in the NBA, right, you can't say anything negative about the refs. They fine you.
Again, a lot of it is how you say it.
Okay.
If you just say like, "Hey, look, I disagree with that call. Like, I thought that was pass interference." Like, you're not gonna get fined. It's when you go like, the refs are terrible. They all need LASIK. None of them can see. I'm not sure they've ever seen or officiated a football game before. They're all mouth breathers, right? Like, And oh, yeah, by the way, they were asking Tom Brady for his autograph. So that's what I think of the officials. That will get you fined. If you sit there and go like, hey, look, I thought it was pass interference. It wasn't called. It ends up being a huge play for them. And maybe they owe us one going forward. Like, those type of things don't get you fined. Go ahead, Byron.
I don't think that this 2 years ago would have been a reviewable overturn. I don't think that the referees would have overturned the call on the field if you were able to review it for how they ended up doing it most of that season. But you said it's not Michael Jordan pushing off on Brian Russell. No, but it is the Michael Jordan of football throwing the pass. And so you wonder, okay, if that was Dak Prescott or if that was Ryan Fitzpatrick, or does that play into it? And
it's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. Right? No one knows the answer to that.
No.
Except those officials.
We all assumed that Tom Brady had too much time on the clock and that the Bucs were going to go down and at least figure out a way to have a chance to get a game-winning kick, and that ended up playing a part in it. But yeah, I think that if that was the New York Jets, right, I'm not sure if that's if that isn't called offensive pass interference.
I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. Interesting and fair. Doug Gottlieb show here on Fox Sports Radio. I don't, but I also don't know. Neither do you. Like I'll be interested when the league reviews it, what they think about it. But you're right. I don't know how that would be officiated if it was the New York Jets. I'd like to think it's still a no call, but again, don't honestly know. And it's an interesting one. A super interesting one. I was looking at these lines here as we're getting ready for. So here's what we do every week. We do what's called 5 for 5. I give you 5 college picks I like. I give you 5 NFL picks I like. And then we keep a running tally. I've done quite well. Usually it's one or the other. I've had years where college football I'm dominant and NFL I'm okay. NFL, I'm dominant. In college football, I'm okay. Last year, I was at about 60% for both.
Be sure to catch the live edition of the Doug Gottlieb Show weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and the iHeartRadio app.
COVID-19 is still around, but that doesn't mean the Army ROTC programs are not there for you. Earn scholarships for school and pursue the career you want. The Leadership Developing Army ROTC classes will give any full-time student the focus and resources that can open doors down the road. Start sharpening the skills that will carve out your future today. Learn how at goarmy.com/ROTC. Army ROTC, now accepting college scholarship applications. Visit goarmy.com/moneyforcollege.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey everybody, it's time for today's STEM tip. Want to know how to make your selfies even better? Okay, let's use science. The best time for photos is golden hour. That's the moment right before the sun sets, when the atmosphere scatters blue and violet wavelengths, making perfect, soft, and golden selfie light to show off that beautiful face of yours. Click. Check out Chic and STEM for more inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
Doug Gottlieb Show, Fox Sports Radio. Orlando Scandrick will join us shortly. Former Dallas Cowboys defensive back. Got a new podcast with TJ Houshmandzadeh. We'll get to that. First, let's get to some picks.
I want winners. Well, we got them. 5 NFL, 5 college.
5 on 3. 1, 2, 3. 5.
It's 5 for 5 with Doug Gottlieb.
Let's go, 5.
Doug Gottlieb Show, Fox Sports Radio. Cy-Hawk Trophy. Huge game. Huge game. Iowa State in Ames, Iowa. Cyclones, the Hawkeyes, thus the Cy-Hawk Trophy at stake. Iowa's a 4.5-point dog. They dominated a run-pass threat last week in Penix, the kid from Indiana, and that's how Iowa State plays. Iowa looked like the real deal on defense. I think Iowa wins straight up, but if you're going to give me 4.5 points, I'll take them. I don't even tease them. I'll take them. Give me Iowa. Oklahoma State's taking on Tulsa. Only a 12.5-point favorite. That's because there's some question as to whether or not Spencer Sanders gets the start. He missed last week's game, a game which they did not cover against Missouri State, and he should be the starting quarterback. I'm going to bet Gundy starts and plays him. He's just a much better athlete than Illingworth. I'm going to take Oklahoma State, lay the 12.5 points, and be good with it. Purdue takes on UConn, who's terrible. It was an easy pick 2 weeks ago against Fresno State. Last week they lost at home to Holy Cross. They won AA. Now a Big Ten team comes in Purdue. This will not be competitive, and obviously a 30.4-point line. But when Randy Edsall abruptly retires before this game, they're going to get smashed. Give me Purdue. Okay, give me Purdue. You give me Purdue or you give me death. All right, I got one more that I'm going to get to. Oregon and Ohio State. With Washington, Jimmy Lake's second game as head coach after losing to Montana. Montana better than you think, but so too is Michigan. Michigan wins 47-14 last week, but nobody wants to buy in to Michigan football. They played two different quarterbacks. They had Blake Corum run for, I think it was 111 yards, thoroughly dominant over Western Michigan. They're only a 6.5-point favorite. Washington's not good. I don't like their offense. And because of that, I'm going to take Michigan to win and Michigan to cover. All right, Oregon taking on Ohio State on Fox. The disrespect for Oregon is a 14.5-point dog, considering how competitive last week was for Ohio State. Plus, you got a young quarterback for Ohio State. I think this is a close game. Doesn't mean Ohio State doesn't win. Ohio State loves close games. But this is not a 14.5-point game. Give me Oregon. I will easily take the points there. All right, let's get to the NFL, shall we? Chargers taking on the football team. I've been telling you all year, Chargers top 5 talent in the league, and I think Austin Eckler plays. If Austin Eckler plays, essentially they're a healthy football team. 1-point dog at Washington. I know it's an early start, first game for your head coach, not your first game for your sophomore quarterback. I'll take the Chargers over the football team. I'm later on in my picks, I'm going to tell you why, just like I used yesterday when I picked the Cowboys in the number, is very few games are decided by more than a touchdown in the NFL. That said, the Lions stink. And the Niners, I think they're going to be really good. They're 8-point favorites on the road in the fast surface. I'm going to take the Niners to win and the Niners to cover. Here's one I don't totally get. Colts, Seahawks. Colts at home, playing on the fast surface, taking on the Seahawks. Colts are 3-point dogs. Is it we don't believe in Carson Wentz, but we've seen Carson Wentz play in this offense previously and win a Super and be an MVP candidate. I'm going to take the Colts to win as a home underdog. Colts underdog. The Packers are 3.5-point favorites over the Saints. I don't think this is particularly competitive. I know Jameis can throw it and can spin it, but he does throw it to the other team. You lose all home field advantage when you're playing in Jacksonville, and the Packers are an elite, talented team. Give me the Packers. All right, I got one more here for you that I think you'll like. The Steelers are taking on the Bills, and everybody is crazy about the Bills, rightfully so. Josh Allen, MVP candidate, a team that's now, shown that they can win in the playoffs, an outstanding defense. But let's not sleep on the Steelers. And T.J. Watt and Ben Roethlisberger being back and Najee Harris being their starting running back. It's not that I think they beat the Bills, but again, a 6.5-point line feels like they think Big Ben won't be ready. Big Ben is ready. Steelers are ready. I'll take the Steelers to cover. There's my picks.
5 on 3. 1, 2, 3.
There it is. 5 NFL.
Let's go, 5.
5 college. 5 for 5 with Doug Gottlieb.
Boom! All right, let's he played 12 years in the league, 10 of those with the Dallas Cowboys. He's a guy that can teach you things about football you had no idea exist. That's why their new podcast is called About the Game with TJ Hushmanzada. It launched last week. He's Orlando Scandrick. He joins us in the Doug Gottlieb Show on Fox Sports Radio. Scan, thanks so much for joining us. Let's start with the most obvious. Was that OPI?
First of all, I'm going to say thank you for having me on, Doug. It's a pleasure always. And I think it was a bang-bang play. I don't think it was OPI because I think the DB was already falling backwards when the receiver came back to the ball. I think the receiver planted and came back to the ball. I don't think the DB did, and he was already drifting backwards. So I don't think that was necessary contact to get open. I think he still gets open without it. So I don't think you make that call right there.
Plus, and again, you lived it. We just watch it. But, I mean, look, they're hand fighting and holding each other, and so it looks more like a push when you could have called defensive holding before that. Could you not?
Probably. It would have probably been DPI because the ball was in the air. But I think with them allowing the hand fighting, and I don't think that him getting his arm off of him was what actually created the separation. I think the DB didn't have a chance. If you look at which foot he planted off of, he didn't even have a chance to plant off of the inside foot and go back and redirect. So he was already falling backwards.
It's Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. That's the voice of Orlando Scandrick. All right, but in totality, how do you think the Cowboys looked?
One more time, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
How do you think the Cowboys looked? I mean, obviously they lost the game, but how did they look?
I think they looked good offensively. I think Dak looks good. I think Dak came and answered a lot of questions that people may have. I don't think that they have established their actual identity. I think they have one of the best running backs in the NFL, and you have to find ways to get them the ball. I don't think they were confident that they can run the ball against the Bucs, so I think they thought that they were going to rely on the shoulder of Dak. I know they all realize that you're not going to get 4 turnovers a game. You're not going to win the turnover margin +3 like that, and I think it's painful when you win the turnover margin by +3 and you lose.
Yeah, I mean, now one of the turnovers was a Hail Mary, right? I mean, it was a Hail Mary at the end of the first half. Also, you miss a field goal, a very makeable field goal, and you miss an extra point, and that dramatically changes how it looks at the end of a game. But, Dan Quinn comes in, different defensive style, adds some pieces to it. End of the day, is it enough? Because they can score points. Do you think they'll be able to stop anybody?
I think they got 2 good defensive ends. I think they're going to struggle until they find some dominant forces in the middle. I think they struggle to push the pocket. I think it was very rare that they got Brady off the spot. I think they probably got him off the spot maybe once or twice. And I don't think that they looked particularly well on defense. Also, I know you say that they missed the field goal and they missed the extra point, but the difference between the Bucs and the Cowboys is the Bucs scored touchdowns in the red zone. The Cowboys settled for field goals. That's a huge difference.
It's a great point. All right, what about the Buccaneers? Look, some of it is the Cowboys' talent, but they also gave up a bunch of points and yardage to the Cowboys. Their front is nasty. Cowboys couldn't run the football, but they're many people's favorite to repeat as champions. When you see the Buccaneers, what do you think?
I think they have a great football team. I think they have the greatest quarterback of all time. They're going to have to get healthy on the back end. They had 2 of their 5 starters, and I'm going to say 5 starters because I can count the nickel as a starter. They had 2 of their 5 starters that were out, by the second quarter, and Sean Murphy-Bunting and Whitehead. So I think it kind of showed that they were playing with some backup guys and some guys that maybe have a little bit of less cohesiveness with the unit, and then they were forced into playing Jamel Dean into a little bit more action than they may have probably wanted to play him in. And, I think as their young pass rusher and, their veteran pass rushers, as they all start to get back into true shape, I think that was kind of that Super Bowl hangover. They finished late. I'm sure everybody got a late start back to working out, and now they'll get going as they did last year, and they'll get better over time. And I think defensively, Todd Bowles will make the necessary adjustments, and I think they're going to be just fine. Cowboys are a great offense, but when you throw the ball 58 times, you're going to throw for some yards.
Derwin James is back for the Chargers. I've had people in the NFL say, look, there's Aaron Donald's probably the best player in the league, maybe definitely the best defensive lineman in the league, and just dominates games. But if there's that next tier, Derwin is in it. Considering his versatility, does he make that much difference with the team? Can one guy like a Derwin make that much difference with the Chargers?
I think he does. I'm excited to see him healthy. Hopeful that he can make it through a whole year. When I was in Kansas City, one of my last years in the league, just to play against him, played him once. He got hurt the second time. But when we played him in the first game of the season, he was just a game changer. He was everywhere. He was all over the field. They line him up at so many different positions, and I think he's definitely a game changer. And now that they got Bosa healthy, and then they got another year under the belt with Tillery, I believe his name is.
Yes.
And they got Asante Samuels Jr. They're going to have Chris Harris healthy. I mean, I'm really excited to watch the Los Angeles Chargers. Sorry, I call myself not San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers.
Marcus Peters went down with an ACL yesterday. And look, anytime you lose a starting corner, it hurts you. But considering the way that Baltimore plays, right, where their corners really challenge you, and I mean, look, you're gonna get dusted sometimes. How much do you think that changes the Ravens losing a guy of his talent?
I think it's gonna hurt them a lot. I don't think it's gonna change them. The Ravens are who they are. They've been that way for a long time, and they're one of those teams that pride themselves on depth, drafting well, and the next man up. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the situation, not only with Marcus Peters, but with their running backs. Their running back situation is kind of scarce. To have to bring two guys, well, one guy, Le'Veon Bell, off the street, and then to bring another guy from another team. And when the run is such a vital part of what they do, it's going to be different. It's going to be a challenge for them at the beginning of the season.
No question about it. It's going to be a massive challenge. The Packers, you got Aaron Rodgers on his Instagram saying it's the last dance. They got a lot to do. They've been in the NFC Championship game 2 consecutive times, and many people believe they have the makeup to get back to that level, Super Bowl level. How difficult do you think it will be, though, considering there is the thought that this is Rodgers' last season in Green Bay?
I think I look to see Aaron have laser focus. I look to see A-Rod be A-Rod. He had one of his best years of his career last year. He's going to continue to get better. But, there's 31 other teams gunning for the Super Bowl, and I know he may be saying it's his last dance, but I'm pretty sure he's kind of approaching it as a one day at a time, one step at a time mentality. And, it'll be exciting to watch him this year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a strong football team, really strong football team. The Dallas Cowboys have a strong offense. And then when you look at some of the other wild cards in the NFC, what do you get out of the Giants? What are you going to get? What are you going to get out of the Washington football team? What are you going to get out of the Seattle Seahawks? It's going to be a challenge. What are you going to get out of a healthy San Francisco 49er team?
Sure. I mean, Nick Bosa's a stud. That defense is outstanding, and obviously when they can run the football, they're terrific. You played against them both. How big an upgrade is Stafford over Goff?
Matthew Stafford's a damn good player, and Jared Goff was a younger player. He's still a talented player. Matthew Stafford hasn't faced this type of pressure that he's going to be facing playing in this type of market with that window closing of his prime years. But I do think it's an upgrade. But I think some of the same things that makes Matthew Stafford good are some of the same things that makes him bad. He forces a lot of balls. He trusts his arm a lot. And, in a McVay-like system, it's kind of so systematic that you got to kind of take what the defense gives you. You're going to have your chance to take big shots, but you got to take what the defense gives you to set up those big shots.
Orlando Scandrick joining us on the Doug Gottlieb. She's got a new pod. It's called About the Game. It's with our guy, TJ Hushmanzada. All right, so were you and Hush boys when you guys were both in the league?
We were. We trained together during a lockout year over at the time it was API in Carson, California.
Yep.
It's the StubHub Center now. It was the Home Depot Center at the time, and we've been close since then. Kind of was able to lean on TJ throughout my whole career. Still able to lean on him throughout the next phase of the career that I'm embarking in my life. I'm considering him a brother, and I'm totally looking forward to it. Check us out on About the Game at Spotify, at Apple, YouTube.
TJ's the best, dude. Plus, he's like the best guy, like the absolute like top 10 human beings of guys, and his personal story is amazing. So, are you guys just breaking it about the games? So you just break down the games?
I mean, we just no, it's not even games. We talk to agents, we talk to players, talk to coaches, general managers. We'll have all of the guests on. We'll just talk about the game on all facets, on all phases, and like all parts of the game, on the field, off the field, in the locker room, at home. How is it managing the family? It's going to be really intense. It's going to be raw. It's going to be uncut. It's going to be behind the scenes. It's going to be what everyone's looking for.
Okay. Cam Newton gave us his own version of what he thinks went down in New England. I guess my question is this, like, in it he said, hey, I didn't get beat out. It's my aura, which I understand an MVP as a backup, but he's basically telling the world he doesn't think he can be a backup. Will Cam Newton play in the NFL this year?
Not sure, but I don't think that he said he didn't get beat out. I think he said that he felt like they thought that he would be a distraction and as a backup. I think if I'm not mistaken, he said he would have been more than happy to be the backup. He didn't think that Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots thought it was the best idea. And I don't know, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to go in this thing to being a backup for Cam. I mean, his skill set is so unique. I think he'd have to be a backup on a team that did similar things to what he does well, because he has such a unique skill set.
Yeah, no, he did say he didn't think he got beat out. All the rest of the stuff you said is accurate, where he said, I would have been the backup. I have no problem with it, but they didn't want that. They didn't even ask him about it. But he did slide in there like, I didn't think I got beat out. It was more about when he was away from the team, and he felt like it was a foregone conclusion because Mac was a first-round pick, which, I think what played into it a little bit, Doug, was, that last year they got off to a decent start. Cam catches COVID, misses games, puts them behind the 8 ball. This year, he chooses to not get vaccinated, has a little bit of a miscommunication in the mix-up and the new COVID policy rules. And that type of thing is you just don't want to make it a distraction. So I think they made an organizational decision to just move forward with Mac Jones, who, when they drafted, they knew was going to be the future of their franchise. You got to respect that. I think their timing of maybe releasing Cam was a little bit off because of so deeply into camp, but I think their hands were kind of tied, and I think that decision was made after that second COVID mix-up. Yep, I completely agree with you on all fronts. Scan, great stuff, man. Love to have you back on. Can't wait to hear the pod. Of course, I'll already talk to TJ, but if you do before I do, tell him I said what's up, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Thanks, Doug, man. Enjoy your day.
All right, that's Orlando Scandrick.
Be sure to catch the live edition of the Doug Gottlieb Show weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific.
COVID-19 is still around, but that doesn't mean the Army ROTC programs are not there for you. Earn scholarships for school and pursue the career you want. The leadership developing Army ROTC classes will give any full-time student the focus and resources that can open doors down the road. Start sharpening the skills that will carve out your future today. Learn how at goarmy.com/ROTC. Army ROTC, now accepting college scholarship applications. Visit goarmy.com/moneyforcollege.
Hi, everyone. Al Roker here. As a guy with his own catchphrase, I appreciate that Smokey's only said,
Only you can prevent wildfires.
But I'm filling in because there's a lot more to report. Like when there are parched or windy conditions out there, you gotta be extra careful with things like burning yard waste. After all, wildfires can start anywhere, even in your neck of the woods. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
I want to get back to being in my community group.
I want to continue having a soccer season.
So I can throw parties again. So I can go to her parties.
It'd really be nice to dine in instead of getting delivery for a change.
So I can feel safe and protected for myself and my students.
We each have our own reason for why we're getting vaccinated against COVID-19. What will yours be? Visit GetVaccineAnswers.org for information on the COVID-19 vaccines. It's up to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Doug Gottlieb Show, Fox Sports Radio. Let's get to the press.
The Press.
Press is brought to you by Bet Rivers. Check out the latest lines in the world of sports at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. Bet Rivers is the trusted name in online sports betting. You must be 21. You must be present in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, or Pennsylvania to play. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Dan Byer, what do you got?
Doug, we have a lot to get to. Big news from the NFL. Lyle Collins, Cowboys right tackle, suspended 5 games for violating the NFL's policy on substance abuse. The NFL Network says that Collins missed drug test, and that's why he got the 5-game ban. NFL announced it. The Cowboys announced it. Everybody reported it. And then it was reported that Collins and his reps were not happy because they didn't think that they had exhausted the appeals process. And then I guess this was still up for debate. That will be determined. But right now, Lyle Collins suspended 5 games.
So I guess that's not the agents didn't leak it, right? Somebody else leaked it.
Correct.
But, yeah. How do you can't miss a drug test? This is not that hard. Can't miss them. And you only miss a drug test, most people believe, if you were going to fail that drug test.
Right. On the heels of last night's game, TV ratings are in for that Cowboys-Buccaneers game. Sports Business Journal says last night's opener for NBC, the highest for an opening game since 2015 when the Patriots hosted the Steelers. So 24.4 million people watched it on NBC, throw in the different platforms and the streaming, and you got it up to about 26 million viewers. But, yeah, up 20% from last year's Texans-Chiefs opener in Kansas City.
That's amazing how many. I mean, look, you got Cowboys and you got Tom Brady. That's
correct.
Gigantic. I want to go back real quick to Lyle Collins. I've said this before, and you get pushback from people because they're idiots and they don't understand that the NFL's drug testing policy is basically this. In the offseason, if you haven't ever tested positive before, you get tested. If you pass that test, they do not test you for recreational drugs the rest of the year. They don't, if you pass that test. Now, you can be tested for performance-enhancing drugs. That's different. But not for recreational drugs. If he's missing drug tests, it most likely means that he failed one of those the preliminary test, and now you're in the program. And then once you fail a drug test in the program, now you're suspended for 5 games or 6 games, but it's 5 apparently because he just missed the test and failed.
Chargers head coach Brandon Staley says he's optimistic running back Austin Eckler plays at Washington on Sunday. Eckler officially listed as questionable on the team's injury report.
It's better than being listed as day-to-day, aren't we all? We're all listed as day-to-day.
Fair enough. A couple of other injury notes. Guard Quentin Nelson, a full participant in practice today, but officially listed as questionable for their opener against the Seahawks on Sunday. Colts quarterback Carson Wentz is going to start week 1. Yes, he will be under center for Indy against Seattle.
What do you think about that game? I picked the Colts. I just, I know the Seahawks are a team that remember they were kind of disjointed during training camp, obviously, because you have 2 guys who wanted to get paid. One got money adjusted. The other one, Jamal Adams, got more money. But I think they're good. I think this is one of those classic Colts are a talented team, and I don't know what Carson Wentz will get, but if we get anywhere near Carson Wentz when he was in Philly playing under the current coaching staff, they should be fine.
Colts are a little dinged up outside of the Nelson and Wentz situations where I think that I don't want to say it sounds like Quentin Nelson's going to play, but he was a full participant today. They are missing Eric Fisher, who's going to be their left tackle. He's not going to play in the game. They've lost T.Y. Hilton. I don't think the Seahawks are going to be able to run the football very well, just because the Colts were second best in yards per carry allowed last season, behind only Tampa Bay. But I do think it's a perfect opportunity to let Russ cook, and if the Colts are playing without Xavier Rhodes, their cornerback, that could be an opportunity for DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and even the rookie D. Eskridge to have a game. So I think it's going to be a lot on Russ's shoulders. Did I ever tell you I went to a Seahawks-Colts game? No. As a Seahawks fan, they didn't come to my area that much because they were in the AFC, and you didn't have as many crossover the rotation that they have now in the schedule.
Yeah.
But they actually came in 1997. They were in Indianapolis. So I drove down from Wisconsin and took in a game. It was pre-Peyton Manning, as Jim Harbaugh was the quarterback, and Lindy Infante was the Colts coach at the time. But the Seahawks were led by Dennis Erickson. And, yeah, so Checked out my Hawks and Colts back in the day of the old Hoosier Dome.
The RCA, was it RCA or Hoosier Dome at the time?
I can't remember what that was probably time where there was a sponsorship. So it was probably RCA Dome at the time. I'd have to confirm that. But yeah, it was a great time because I'd never, I saw the Seahawks when I was 7 years old and hadn't gone to a game and saw them in a random contest in 1997.
Feel bad for Kurt Warner, the running back for the Seahawks. No one knows that he's that Kurt Warner. Because when you say Kurt Warner, it's all Kurt Warner, TV analyst, Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, MVP.
And you talk about the 12s, I swear I was the only Seahawks fan in that entire dome. It was half empty because the Colts weren't that much of a draw, but true story. Texans ruled quarterback Deshaun Watson out for Sunday's game against the Jaguars. No surprise, but the designation, Doug, that they put on him missing the game, quote, not injury related, end quote.
I've heard people Houston's in an impossible situation. I got a plan for how to fix anything. I don't know how you fix that right now if you're Houston. And these people that are being critical of Houston, I just don't get it.
The Big 12 right now is, going to be 14 for a few years, it looks like. UCF, BYU, Houston, and Cincinnati added to the league, approved today. The invites are there. 2023 seems to be the target year for those schools.
For those schools to join, but
Yes.
2024 is when supposedly Texas and Oklahoma. I'm going to guess Texas and Oklahoma join the SEC next year.
Fingering on a way. One other note, ESPN reporting, Robert Griffin III saying that JT Daniels, quarterback of Georgia, dealing with an oblique injury could put his status for Saturday's game against UAB in question.
Yeah, but RG3, breaking news.
Yeah, that Georgia offense still needing to score a touchdown on the year because they didn't score against Clemson. Their offense didn't. Finally, Doug, let's go to Major League Baseball, where earlier today the Giants and Cubs were playing at Wrigley.
Here's a swing and a drive by Longoria. Deep left field. It is gone all the way to the top of the bleachers. 3-1 Giants. They take the lead for the first time.
That's on the Giants radio network. Brandon Belt would add another 2-run home run. Giants win 6-1 over the Cubs. So as we speak, San Francisco 3 games up on the Dodgers in the NL West entering tonight. Dodgers start a series with the Padres at Chavez Ravine.
That should be a good one. Fireworks should ensue, right?
Yes. Although the distance between the two, man, at one point it was close. Not
At one
so much
point it was
anymore.
close, and then the Padres had a bunch of injuries with their pitching, but gosh, they just hit a bad spot there.
And that's the press.
Hey, get out there and press.
That was the press.
All right, Dan, give me one pick that you think would surprise people. You watch all these.
Oh, gosh, a surprise. I thought you were going to maybe go for a lock. I really like the Vikings to beat the Bengals. That's a block. Give me a lock. Give me Colorado playing against Texas A&M. They're a 17-point dog. Give me the Buffaloes to cover in that game.
Ooh.
It's at Mile High, whatever they're calling it, Empower Stadium or Field or whatever. But
So they're not playing at Folsom?
No. No.
I mean, watching Colorado play, when you got the Buffalo running this, I'm waiting at one point in time for the Buffalo to go these are just like ropes holding me. These are just gnats on me. Just saying. All right, you got my picks. We'll put them up on social media. Enjoy the football. NFL is back. Shocker, Tom Brady won a game late. It's Doug Gottlieb Show.
COVID-19 is still around, but that doesn't mean the Army ROTC programs are not there for you. Earn scholarships for school and pursue the career you want. The leadership developing Army ROTC classes will give any full-time student the focus and resources that can open doors down the road. Start sharpening the skills that will carve out your future today. Learn how at goarmy.com/ROTC. Army ROTC, now accepting college scholarship applications. Visit goarmy.com/moneyforcollege.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear. Because for years, he's only said,
Only you can prevent wildfires.
but there's a lot more to say. Like if you park your car on tall, dry grass, the hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.